You know how whammons have been complaining for years about the passport bros? Realizing that the women in their home country aren't worth anything, so they go overseas to get what they want, and oftentimes, almost always actually succeed at it. Let's see what happens when American whammons try to do the same thing. I think you guys already know, but don't spoil it. I'm an American in Australia, but no one wants to date me because I'm not thin or blonde. And you don't have a good personality either, but that's a different topic. An American woman who has traveled the world was left disappointed by the Australia dating scene after receiving little to no attention from men. Lily from Oregon said her experience in Sydney left a lot to be desired because she isn't thin and blonde. I have a good personality. I make friends easily. I put myself out there. I just haven't got anything back in return, she said in a TikTok video. Well, you might not want to hear this, but I don't care. Every single person who I have ever known that has uttered the line, I have a good personality, it was cope and a lie. It's just like how virtue signalers are never good people. Like there's zero overlap between virtue signalers and good people. If you're a good person, everyone knows. You don't need to tell them. You don't need a virtue signal. It's the same thing with having a good personality. If you have a good personality, it's obvious. You don't have to tell people you have a good personality. I see white, thin, blonde girls put almost nothing out there and they get everything. I was with two of them walking to the beach and they both got stopped and asked for their numbers within 2 minutes. This never happened to me. Reality's painful sometimes, isn't it? As someone who is mid-size and heavier, Lily said it was extremely frustrating to travel and date in Australia and that she didn't love the experience. Look, if you're mid-size and heavier, if you're thick, that could work. But you're obese. You're not thick. And you don't make up for that with the face either. And yeah, true statement is not for you to decide. Look, this goes to everybody, men, women, anyone. You don't get to decide what other people find attractive. Like, I'm all for everyone accepting who and what they are and loving themselves as they are and all that hippie shit. But you have no control over other people being as accepting of you as you are of yourself. The sooner you accept that, the happier you'll be. Now, Australia is just very much a country where things are determined by your body, she said, adding it's true everywhere, but it felt even more severe here. The American said her experience in Spain was much different and better compared to Sydney. If you're not thin, white, and possibly blonde, your experience in Australia as a Wayman's will be very different, she said. I hung out with this girl I met on Facebook, and we were talking about what it's like to live in Sydney and travel Australia as someone who isn't thin or white. This is something women just talk about, I guess. Hey, let's commiserate together about what it's like to not be thin and blonde or white. So Jenny says, I got to Australia, I received little to no romantic attention, and I know it's because I'm not thin and blonde or young or good looking or have a good personality. So many Aussies disagreed with Lily's assessment. Here we go. Come on, Australian Chads, you going to put her in her place? Now, I'm an Australian redhead. I've been fat and thin. I've been hit on in all stages of my physique, even pregnant and postpartum. I'm 36. It's your vibe, I think, one said. Oh, man, even the women are calling that out. Like, yeah, I'm an Australian woman who's not thin and blonde, and I get attention. You seem negative and jealous. If you change your energy, you will see a huge difference. Australia is all about easygoing people, another wrote. If you're moody, no one wants to be around that. But I have a good personality. My mom said so. I'm a plus-size traveler and had a great time dating in Sydney, a traveler shared. Yeah, this must be really rough for her because now she has to admit, maybe it's me. Yeah, maybe I'm the problem. So if you claimed it was a Sydney-specific problem, as a plus-size brunette who has lived in both Sydney and Melbourne, it's a Sydney issue, a woman said. Oh, okay, maybe she's getting some more evidence for her case here. So Sydney anywhere near the water is very shallow, another echoed. Several blonde Australian women also weighed in on the topic. Like, nah, this isn't specific to Australia. This is worldwide. Come on now, one said. Born and raised in Stry, and I've never had anyone ask for my number when I was out. Are you saying it might be different if I left? Another asked. Look, if you were a man, it would be. The third said, but we don't even want attention from who we get it. Trust me, you're not missing out. And that right there is the key. That is why so many people, both men and women, end up alone. No matter what your deal is, there is always somebody out there who would accept you and want you. But the problem is you don't accept and want them. So a one is never good enough for another one. Oh, no, no, no. They still want the tens. Oh, what is wrong with these tens not realizing my value as a one? And again, this happens on both sides. Both men and women are guilty as hell of this. There are potential partners out there who would accept them and love them and be okay with them, but that's not the people they want. And then by the time they get old and desperate enough to lower their standards to that level, it's too late. Can't possibly lower it any further.